Yishu wouldn't be able to find some items to upgrade his weapon anymore. But Yishu accepted that challenge right away. He was determined to win this game after the vice captain of tyranny found out that Lord Grimm was actually Yishu. He reported it to the captain of tyranny immediately. The captain of tyranny was called Han Wenking. He was one of the veterans in Glory, like Yishu. He also started to play Glory 10 years ago. He had been EXIU's nemesis since then. His role in the game was a brawler since he hadn't seen Yishu for a long time. He wanted to find out about what he was doing these days. So, he decided to participate in the battle. At Happy Internet Cafe, Yishu rented the VIP room to have a meeting with his team. In that meeting, he explained about the strategy that they would use during their fight with tyranny later. He also told them about what kind of team tyranny was. He said that tyranny was very aggressive. The battle between Lord Grimm and tyranny finally began. After they played for a while, Yishu realized that tyranny had a great healer. When Lord Grimm and his team tried to drain tyranny's energy, their healer healed their energy immediately. Because of that, it was difficult for Lord Grimm and his team to defeat them. Lord Grimm's team got frustrated because of it. Suddenly, Yishu had an idea. He planned to kidnap a tyranny member and attack him in an area that tyranny's healer couldn't reach. Lord Grimm and his team thought that they had managed to defeat Lord Grimm and his team, but suddenly, Han Wenking appeared and attacked them with Meteor Storm. After that, he defeated Buzzy, Ifan, and Little Tang. He purposely defeated them first because he wanted to have a talk with Yishu. Wenking asked Yishu about what happened in Excellent Era. He wanted to know if Yishu really quitted the team or he was fired by the club. Yishu didn't answer him straightly. He just told him that he was going to return to the game tournament in the near future. Lord Grimm and his team finally lost the battle according to the agreement that they had made with tyranny. It meant that they couldn't make an attack on the boss monster anymore, so Yishu tried to find another way to find some items to upgrade his weapon. He decided to sell a handbook that Luoji had made. The handbook was about how to break a new record to fight the boss monster. People who bought those copies of handbook had to give them rare materials as a return. Meanwhile, Little Tang began to be suspicious of Yishu. Because of their last battle with tyranny, Little Tang suspected that Yishu wasn't just a random player. In an interview, Wenking told the media that EQIU didn't give up and would return to the game tournament in the near future. Guo was happy when she heard that. She couldn't wait to come to the tournament and support Yishu again. Guo thought that Yishu would return to Excellent Era. So, she bought a ticket of an all-star match. In that all-star match, the juniors and the seniors would fight each other in one-on-one competitions at a mini-market. Su-Mucheng asked Yishu to come to the all-star match that was going to be held soon. She gave 3 tickets of the all-star match to him at Happy Internet Cafe. Guo was mad because all tickets of the all-star match had been sold. She called her friend who was also a scalper to get her a ticket. But that friend also couldn't do that. Yishu saw that and decided to give one of his tickets to her. Guo was happy because of that. The next morning, Guo, Yishu, and Little Tang went to that all-star match together. As soon as they arrived there, Guo ran a merchandise stall there. Suddenly, her friend, the scalper, appeared and approached her. Her friend told her that Yishu had quit Excellent Era and wouldn't return to the team then. He asked his friends to help him to get rid of Guo's stall. Guo was sad because of that. So, Yishu tried to cheer her up. He asked her about the definition of an idol to her. He asked if the meaning of an idol to her was the person himself, his words, or his spirit. When Guo heard that, she finally realized that she had been admiring EXIU's spirit all this time. She liked how Yishu made the impossible became possible at another place. Ifan planned to participate in the all-star match. He registered himself as a participant there. He wanted to show his new skill to the captain of Tiny Herb before the match began. Su-Mucheng approached Yishu and his friends. She sat with them in the spectator seats. Guo was happy when she saw that. She couldn't believe that she could meet Su-Mucheng. The all-star match finally began. 6 big esports teams were participating in that match. Tiny Herb was going to participate in the first competition. Yifan's good friend would fight the captain of Tiny Herb. He was the junior player. Meanwhile, the captain of Tiny Herb was the senior player. During the game, it looked like the junior was struggling to defeat his senior. He kept avoiding and hiding from the captain of Tiny Herb since the beginning of the game. When the captain of Tiny Herb found him, he ran away immediately. The captain of Tiny Herb chased and kept attacking him. Yifan's good friend was struggling because of that. He didn't have a chance to attack him back. Then, he found another chance to hide. The captain of Tiny Herb was tired with this cat and mouse game. So, he burned the woods so his junior would get out of his hiding place. Because his energy kept getting drained, Yifan's friend had no choice but to get out of his hiding place. He had to fight the captain of Tiny Herb no matter what turned out. This competition was a part of the captain of Tiny Herb's plan. He had planned to lose the game to boost his junior's self-confidence. He wanted his junior to believe that he could replace him as the captain of Tiny Herb in the future in the second competition. Yifan from Tiny Herb was going to fight a captain from Void. Void wasn't a famous and great team. In spite of that, that captain was well known as the best supporter in the Glory Professional Alliance. The role of a supporter was a little bit different from other roles in Glory. A supporter wasn't really great in one-on-one competition, so they needed to depend on the battlefield. The captain of Void finally found the best spot in the battlefield. Then, he kept attacking Yifan relentlessly. He didn't give a chance for Yifan to breathe. Yifan finally managed to attack him back, but turned out it was only a part of the captain of Void's plan. He purposely let Yifan attack him once so he could trick him into thinking that he could win. Once Yifan was off guard, the captain of Void attacked him again and defeated him as expected. Yifan lost the game. He looked so pressured when the journalists asked him some rude questions. Yishu met him immediately. He told him that what he did was wrong. He didn't like how Yifan participated in the match just because he wanted to show off. He was mad because Yifan didn't even talk to him about this in the third competition. Sun Jiang from Excellent Era was going to fight Han Wenking from Tana Herbal during the game. Wenking remembered that Yishu was going to return to the game tournament. He was bothered by that thought that he couldn't focus on the game. Because of that, Sun Jiang managed to attack him easily. Then, Sun Jiang mocked Han Wenking. He said that Wenking was already too old for the game and he needed to quit his job. Han Wenking was mad when he heard that. He focused back on the game and did his best to fight Sun Jiang. He finally managed to win the game. After Sun Jiang got off the stage, the journalists asked him a few questions. Sun Jiang was annoyed because those journalists always compared him to Yishu. He said that he lost his game because he wasn't lucky in the fourth competition. A lucky spectator was going to fight a Glory pro player. A spectator would be randomly chosen to fight a pro player from professional team. Turned out, Little Tang was chosen as the lucky spectator. She was going to fight a player from Excellent Era. When Little Tang was on the stage, they showed Little Tang's account on the screen. It showed that her account was made in less than a month. Because of that, people thought that she was going to be defeated easily, but turned out, during the game, the player from Excellent Era was struggling to fight Little Tang. Sun Jiang was mad when he saw that. He wouldn't let his subordinate be defeated by a random player. So, he volunteered to replace his subordinate in the game. Suddenly, Yishu noticed the big difference from the way the player from Excellent Era played the game. He realized that they had changed the player secretly. Because of that, he also volunteered to replace Little Tang in the game. Then, the fierce battle between Yishu and Sun Jiang began. When Sun Jiang tried to attack Yishu, Yishu changed the direction of his attack and avoided Sun Jiang's attack. It was Yixiyu's signature when he was still a Glory pro player. Because of that, Yishu managed to defeat Sun Jiang with his ultimate power. With the win, Yishu felt the same great happiness and excitement that he used to experience when he won the competition back then. During the game, the journalists noticed Yixiyu's signature. So, as soon as the competition was over, they rushed to the stage together. They knew that Yishu was the one who played the game. But when they arrived there, they didn't see Yishu anywhere. After watching that competition, Guo realized something. She realized that Yishu, the worker who was working at her internet cafe, was actually her idol. She was happy because of that. The captains of the big esports teams were also happy because Yishu had returned to the game tournament. They couldn't wait to compete against Yishu in the competitions again at the hotel. Guo was excited to see Yishu. She still couldn't believe that Yishu was her idol. She couldn't stop blushing at the thought of meeting him. When Guo and the others returned to Happy Internet Cafe, they were surprised to see many journalists there. Those journalists rushed to Yishu and his group as soon as they saw them. Guo thought that they wanted to interview Yishu, so she protected Yishu immediately, but apparently, it was not them that those journalists were after. Those journalists were only hanging out in that cafe to charge their phones. They saw Tao and Sun Jiang outside of the internet cafe and they ran toward them. They knew that Sun Zhang would be around because the Office of Excellent Era was near that internet cafe. At the Office of Excellent Era, the Commissioner of Excellent Era heard that Yishu had returned to the game tournament because Sun Zhang was defeated by Yishu in the last competition. He began to think that he made a mistake. He regretted his decision to replace Yishu with Sun Zhang at Happy Internet Cafe. Yishu began to wear his black mask again. He did that so he would be recognized by the journalist who often visited that cafe. His strategy finally worked. That journalist approached and asked him about who he was. Yishu told him to ask Guo Guo about it, so that journalist approached Guo Guo. He told Guo Guo that he suspected that Yishu was the famous Glory Pro player. Guo Guo refused to tell him about the truth. She wanted to protect Yishu. Not long after that, Yishu received a call from Tao. Tao asked him to come to the Office of Excellent Era. He admitted that he had made a mistake to replace Yishu with Sun Zhang, so he asked Yishu to return to Excellent Era. Tao told Yishu that he had to replace him with Sun Zhang because of the business. He had to replace him with Sun Zhang to attract public attention. He said that esports business wasn't only about winning, but also about attracting public attention. Yishu was well known as a good team player, so he would encourage his team to defeat his enemies together. If they won that game, nobody would talk about their victory, but it was different if the team was led by Sun Zhang. Sun Zhang wasn't a good team player. He wouldn't mind if the rest of his team died. He could defeat his enemies alone, and if he won, the world would be talking about their victory. It was uncommon for a player to defeat 5 players alone. That was why Tao replaced Yishu with Sun Zhang. Yishu tried to understand Tao's reason, but he rejected Tao's offer to return to Excellent Era. Immediately he told him that he had his own team and he would return to the game tournament with his new team. Tao was disappointed with his decision, so he got rid of all computers that he, Yishu, and Sumuxiu used back then. Those were the computers that had made them who they were today. When Yishu saw one of those computers, he had a flashback. He remembered the time when he and Sumuxiu were inventing Myriad Manifestation Umbrella together. It seemed that Yishu had been interested in non-specialized weapons since he was a child, but because of Tao, Sumuxiu cancelled his plan to create his own non-specialized weapon. He deleted all materials that he used to create Myriad Manifestation Umbrella. Because of that, Myriad Manifestation Umbrella returned to level 1. Then, he put that weapon inside of an old box. After that, Sumuxiu told Yishu that he failed to create Myriad Manifestation Umbrella. Yishu was disappointed when he heard that. To cheer Yishu up, Sumuxiu asked him for a challenge. If one of them became the best player, he would be allowed to use Myriad Manifestation Umbrella. Yishu smiled when he remembered those memories. He finally managed to use that non-specialized weapon. Then, he checked that computer. He found a book that belonged to Sumuxiu there. He was surprised when he read that book. There was a tutorial on how to perfect the Myriad Manifestation Umbrella that was written by Sumuxiu. To perfect Myriad Manifestation Umbrella, one needed to complete a quest. They had to climb the top of a tower. Usually, the players who could climb the top of the tower were the top pro players with god level accounts. To complete that quest perfectly, a player couldn't be attacked by any monster, not even once. If they were attacked by a monster, then he would fail the quest. Because of that, to avoid those monsters, Yishu decided to climb the outside part of the tower. It seemed like Yishu was struggling to complete that quest, but suddenly, when he was almost defeated, he unlocked a new weapon. That weapon was a propeller. With his new propeller, Yishu finally managed to avoid those monsters and fly to the top of the tower. When Yishu arrived at the top of the tower, he saw his old friends from other big esports teams had been waiting for him there. They came to that place because they wanted to try Myriad Manifestation Umbrella that had been perfected by Yishu at Happy Internet Cafe. Guo Guo found out about Yishu's plan to return to the game tournament. Because of that, she was interested in participating in the tournament with Yixiu's team. But then, she realized that she wasn't really good in playing Glory, so she couldn't join Yishu's team as a player. Guo Guo then decided to become the manager of Yishu's team. But she wasn't sure about her decision because she was too insecure at another place. Yishu asked Sumuxiu's help to register his name in the next tournament. It was a Challenger League, a tournament that was smaller than the main tournament like Yishu usually participated in. To become a professional team, an esports team needed to become a winner in this Challenger League. Not only that, They also needed to create a guild and have some members if they wanted to join the championship. The next afternoon, Yishu met the captain of Tiny Herb. He wanted to talk about Yifan's progress. The captain of Tiny Herb wanted to know about Yishu's new team. So, Yishu asked him to go to Happy Internet Cafe with him. He planned to make that internet cafe as his team's base camp someday. When they arrived there, Yishu planned to make Guo volunteer herself as his team's manager, so the captain of Tiny Herb and Yishu teased Guo. The captain of Tiny Herb pretended to ask Yishu to join his team. As Yishu had expected, Guo was mad when she heard that she didn't want Yishu to join Tiny Herb. She insisted on being Yishu manager in order to become Yishu team's manager. Yiqiu told Guo to complete some tasks first. The first task that Guo had to do was creating a guild. Esports teams usually chose cool names as their guilds, but Guo chose the incomparable Great Guild as the name of her guild instead. After that, Guo had to do the second task, which was recruiting people to become the members of her guild. To attract people to join her guild, she would reward new members in her guild with valuable gifts. After she managed to have 300 first members in her guild, she registered her guild in the system. She planned to upgrade her guild to the next level. They needed to complete a mission first. Guo accepted that mission immediately. She had no idea that it was a difficult mission. In that mission, Yishu and his team had to defeat a powerful boss monster that was almost impossible to be defeated by them with their current strength. Yishu was surprised when he heard that, especially when he found out that he had to complete the mission in 2 hours. If they failed to do that mission, the guild that they had been registered would be removed by the system. But Yishu and his team had no other option. They had to do that mission immediately. They finally began to attack the boss monster as Yishu had expected. He and his team failed in their first attack during the game. Yishu noticed that some members of the guild purposely missed their attacks. Turned out, those members were the captains of the great guilds. They disguised themselves as the members of Yishu guild to sabotage Yishu plan to create a new team. Because of that failure, Guo learned that she needed to be more careful next time. She was really pressured by their team's failure. It was her first time to bear such responsibility as a team manager. Then, Luoji told Yishu about his new strategy. He had been calculating that strategy carefully. Yishu and his team began to attack the boss monster again before their time was over. During that game, Yishu attacked the monster relentlessly until it got cornered. It was a part of Yishu and Luoji's strategy. Luoji noticed that the attacks from the fake members who purposely missed their attacks kept hitting the wall. So, they needed to get the boss monster near that wall and wait. In the last minutes, the big stone finally collapsed and fell on the boss monster. The boss monster died instantly because of that. After that, Yishu and his team celebrated their victory. They drank orange juices together. At another place, Guo was still pressured and sad because of her team's first failure. She felt like she had failed to become a manager. Then, she returned to her internet cafe. She told Yishu that she genuinely supported him and his new team. She would support them even though she was fired as their team manager. Yishu smiled when he heard Guo's sincere words. He then told her that they won in their first mission. So, he decided to appoint Guo as their official manager. He also told Guo to change their guild's name as Happy Guild. After that, Yishu lured the captain of Blue Rain's guild into coming to Happy Internet Cafe. He wanted him to teach Guo on how to pass the certification exam to become a professional team manager. A few months later, the numbers of the members of Yishu guild had increased. In New Year holiday, Baozi, Little Tang, and Yifan returned to their hometowns to spend the holiday with their family. While Yishu was strolling around the mall, he suddenly saw a man who looked exactly like him. That man was dressed nicely in a black suit. Guo also saw him. When she approached him, she was confused with his strange behavior. So, she asked Sumacheng if Yishu had dissociative identity disorder. Apparently, that man was Yishu's twin brother. He was called Yishu. He came to Happy Internet Cafe to ask Yishu to return to their hometown. Their father was the one who sent him there. Turned out, Yishu came from a wealthy family, and since Yishu and his team needed an investor to invest in their new guild, they planned to trick Yishu. They wanted Yishu to invest in their new guild. After spending some time there, Yishu realized that his twin brother was already happy with his life. So, he decided to return to their hometown alone. He brought his favorite childhood toy with him at the dormitory of Excellent Era. Sun Jiang was busy training his ultimate power. He was frustrated because of his loss in the all-star match yesterday. A few days later, Guo Guo told Yishu that she passed her certification exam. Not long after that, Little Tang, Baozi, and Yifan returned to Happy Internet Cafe. They had returned from their holiday. They asked Yishu and Guo Guo to go out with them. In that restaurant, Yishu and the others gave their glory account cards to Guo Guo. It was a symbol to appoint Guo Guo as their official manager. After they finished eating in that restaurant, they went to the stadium to watch a competition between Excellent Era and Thunderclap. Thunderclap was well known as a one-man show. It was because their captain, Zhao Shiqin, was the only one who was known in that team. He was known as one of the 4 master tacticians in the Glory Professional Alliance. During that game, it showed that the rest of Thunderclap's members were struggling to collaborate with Shiqin. Because of that, Thunderclap got the lowest rank in the Glory Professional Alliance. Meanwhile, Excellent Era got the second lowest rank. The Glory Professional Alliance, because of their consecutive losses in the competitions, because of their low ranks. This competition decided the fates of those 2 teams in the Glory Professional Alliance. The team who lost in this competition wouldn't be allowed to join the championship next year. Sun Jiang underestimated Thunderclap because they got the lowest rank in the Glory Professional Alliance. So, he showed off his new skill to them immediately. Turned out, his new skill was similar with Yishu's signature. He wanted to show off that he could do anything that Yishu did, but he forgot that his enemy was Zhao Shiqin, one of the 4 master tacticians in the Glory Professional Alliance. Once Zhao Shiqin found out about his enemy's weakness, he would use that weakness to attack him badly. Not long after that, Sun Jiang knew that he had to pay for his arrogance. He and his team lost in that competition. Because of that, Excellent Era wouldn't be able to join the main game tournament next year. They had to join the Challenger League instead. Excellent Era fans were mad when they found out about that. After that, Su Muchen came out of the room. She sincerely apologized to the fans and the journalists. Meanwhile, at another place, instead of celebrating their victory, Zhao Shiqin decided to leave Thunderclap. Apparently, he had been recruited by Tao, the manager of Excellent Era, to join Excellent Era. Yishu felt bad for Su Muchen because of what happened to her team, so he decided to cheer her up. He asked her to play with him in a map that was made by Su Muxiu. Then, Yishu and Su Muchen visited a mysterious chapter in that map. That mysterious chapter was the Easter egg that was made by Su Muxiu. Su Muchen told Yishu that she couldn't enjoy playing Glory anymore when she was playing with Excellent Era. Not long after that, Zhao Shiqin finally moved to the dormitory of Excellent Era. It seemed like Zhao Shiqin and Su Muchen had known each other for a long time. Tao recruited Zhao Shiqin to Excellent Era because he believed that Zhao Shiqin would bring the best out of the team, especially Sun Jiang. He wanted Zhao Shiqin to control Sun Jiang. Not long after that, the time for the esports teams to register themselves and the next Challenger League finally came. Yishu team, Happy, went to the stadium to register themselves. They met many famous esports athletes there, including Excellent Era, which had been eliminated from the main tournament next year. Then, Yishu had a conversation with Zhao Shiqin. It seemed like Zhao Shiqin and Yi Qiu had also known each other for a long time. The next day, Happy prepared themselves to participate in the next competition. In that competition, they were going to compete against great teams to prove their competence. Turned out, their chosen enemy for the first competition was Tiny Herb. Since Yifan was a former member of Tiny Herb, he exactly knew about the weaknesses of their team. He told his team that they were going to need a healer to defeat Tiny Herb. So, Happy listed 10 best healers in the Glory Professional Alliance. Out of those 10 healers, they chose the one who was good at removing the buff. The buff was a skill to reduce the enemy's power. As example, if someone had 100 powers, then he would have 40 powers left after he was attacked by the buff. In other words, it was a skill to weaken the enemy. The healer whom Happy chose was called Wenyi. He became a Glory player because he wanted to earn money at the office of Excellent Era. Zhao Shiqin finally found the best strategy to play in the next competition. He felt like he had great power in his hands at Happy Internet Cafe. Yishu decided to choose Yifan as the vice captain of Happy. He chose him because of his passion and dedication to compete in Glory. Then, he told him to interview Wenyi. During the interview, while Wenyi was talking about the pay with Yifan, Yishu suddenly came there. He met him to see his competence in playing Glory. After Wenyi played Glory for a while, Yishu found out that and when Yi didn't know how to do the buff. But he saw that he was really great in healing and understanding the situation apparently, and when Yi cheated his way to become one of the 10 greatest healers in the Glory Professional Alliance. He paid another person to replace him to play Glory, but Yishu and his friends had no idea about it, and when Yi was finally accepted as the 6th member of Happy, then, to equip and when Yi with weapons, Yishu asked his team to steal weapons from other players who died when they attacked the boss monster. They couldn't buy weapons for and when Yi because they didn't have enough resources. Then, Yishu attacked a player to create chaos. He wanted to divide the enemies who came from different guilds. By attacking a random player, he hoped that it could create conflict between those members of great guilds. When they were about to pick a weapon from a dead player, they saw an assassin who used the same strategy that they used to steal the weapon. Yishu chased that assassin immediately. That assassin fought Yishu back. Turned out he was pretty great in fighting, but Yishu finally managed to defeat him. Meanwhile, the members of great guilds finally found out that Happy was the one who created this whole chaos. They attacked the members of Happy immediately, and when Yi didn't care about those attacks. He was busy picking up the weapons from the dead players Ifan who saw and when Yi alone thought that he had to protect him. Because of that, the members of great guilds knew that they came from the same team. They attacked the members of Happy together. After that attack, Ifan thought that he wasn't ready to be the vice captain of Happy. The role of vice captain made him feel like he had to take many important decisions. Because of that, he didn't think about his actions carefully. Their last failure in that attack also made and when Yi planned to leave Happy, but after he had a conversation with Guo, he cancelled his plan. And when Yi was touched by the motivation, vision, and mission of Happy that Guo had told him the day of the competition between Happy and Tiny Herb finally arrived in the morning. When they were about to go to the stadium, they couldn't find Ifan anywhere. They thought that Ifan was too pressured by the competition, so he ran away, but apparently, Ifan was already in the stadium. He went to that place early because he had to do some research about the competitions that Tiny Herb had participated in. While and when Yi was looking for Ifan, he met the captain of Excellent Era Guild. The captain of Excellent Era Guild offered him an interesting offer. He would give him some money if he would play very badly and made Happy lose in the competition. Since and when Yi's motivation to play Glory was to earn money, he was tempted by that offer. He thought about that offer carefully. At another place, Yishu sent an email to Ifan. He told Ifan to play Glory and meet him in the game soon. He wanted to make Ifan believe in himself and get rid of his fear. The competition between Happy and Tiny Herb finally began. At the beginning of the game, Yishu's non-specialized game account was noticed by many people. Then, in order to win in that competition, the members of Happy needed to cross the finish line and get some points. Tiny Herb's job in that competition was to disturb and stop Happy from completing their missions. As soon as the game started, Tiny Herb attacked Happy from many directions to divide their team formation. Ifan planned to fight their enemies by himself. Meanwhile, the rest of his team continued their journey. He found a way to stop his enemies. He set a trap between the trees to stop his former captain and Tiny Herb. While Bowsy and Little Tang were already halfway in reaching the finish line, they were hit with poisons by their enemies. And when Yi was nervous when he saw that, even though his role in the game was a healer, he had no idea how to remove the buff. But Bowsy and Little Tang kept asking him to remove their buffs. Their energy kept getting drained because of the poisons, and when Yi finally decided to heal Bowsy and Little Tang as best as he could, but unfortunately, he was too late. Bowsy and Little Tang had died because they ran out of energy. They died right before the finish line. Because of that, the members of Happy blamed each other. Yishu interrupted their fight. He told and when Yi to heal the members who were still alive. Turned out, and when Yi managed to heal them quickly. Because of that, the enemies were struggling to fight Yishu and when Yi. The members of Happy didn't blame and when Yi for the deaths of Bowsy and Little Tang in the game anymore. They praised him for his amazing healing skill instead. And when Yi was happy when he heard that. He thought that he had found the right team, and when Yi finally managed to reach the finish line, he was helped and protected by Yishu and Ifan after the competition was over. And when Yi finally made his decision, he decided to stay in Happy. He also told Yishu about the truth. He said that he couldn't remove the buff. Yishu said that he would teach and when Yi on how to remove the buff if he chose to stay in Happy in the next competition. Happy was going to compete against Blue Rain. Shaoshan told Yishu that the captain of Blue Rain had found the best strategy to defeat them in the next competition. Yishu had also thought about a strategy to divide Blue Rain. Then, Yishu asked his old friend, an experienced veteran in glory, to help him in the next competition. His old friend was called Wei Chen. His role in the game was a warlock. When Yishu asked him to help him, he said that he didn't play the game anymore. He lied to Yishu that he was already rich. After that, Yishu and Wei Chen hacked each other's IP address. They wanted to know about how they were doing these days. Yishu finally found Wei Chen's base camp. When he arrived there, he met one of Wei Chen's subordinates. Wei Chen's subordinate told Yishu that someone once paid them to kill Lord Grim. Then, Yishu was looking around the base camp. He saw a replica of weapon there. It seemed like that replica was very precious to Wei Chen.